It was supposed to be a joke worth $100, but within 7 unforgettable minutes, it became the most expensive mistake a billionaire CEO had ever made. Hundreds of people stood frozen on the bright afternoon runway, watching a dusty single father in oil-stained work clothes walk toward a silent private jet while executives laughed, security guards smirked, and cameras secretly recorded what everyone expected to be his humiliation. No one imagined that before the stopwatch reached 7 minutes, the engines would roar to life and expose a truth that money, status, and power could never buy. Before we begin, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance and that ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs inspiration today, and subscribe to Beyond Single Dad. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that remind the world never to judge a person by their appearance. Under the warm afternoon sun, the private airport buzzed with activity as sleek luxury cars lined the entrance and wealthy investors gathered around one of the newest business jets in the country. The owner was 39-year-old CEO Victoria Langford, a woman admired for building a billion-dollar aviation company from almost nothing. She was brilliant, disciplined, and respected across the industry, but years of constant success had quietly replaced humility with certainty. She had grown accustomed to believing that expensive experts always knew best and that appearances revealed everything worth knowing. Only a short distance away, 42-year-old Owen Mercer tightened the worn laces of his old work boots before climbing out of a faded pickup truck that had survived nearly 300,000 miles. His toolbox was older than some of the airport employees, and his hands carried permanent stains from years of repairing engines. Owen was not there as a guest. He had been hired by a small maintenance contractor to deliver replacement equipment after another mechanic called in sick. Every dollar mattered because he was raising his 9-year-old son, Mason, alone after losing his wife to cancer 5 years earlier. Since then, every sunrise meant another promise to keep. He promised Mason there would always be food on the table, a roof overhead, and hope waiting tomorrow, even when his own heart felt exhausted. Life had never been generous to Owen. He often worked 16-hour days before returning home to help Mason with homework, cook dinner, wash clothes, and prepare for another day. His neighbors saw only a tired mechanic driving an old truck, but few realized he had once served as a lead aircraft engine technician in the Air Force before family tragedy forced him into local repair work. Owen never spoke about those years because he believed actions mattered more than stories. As he unloaded equipment near the silent business jet, he noticed several certified technicians arguing with frustration. The aircraft refused to start despite hours of testing. Important investors were growing impatient, and every delayed minute threatened million-dollar business agreements. Victoria's confidence slowly turned into visible irritation as experts admitted they could not identify the problem quickly enough. Owen quietly observed the situation while organizing his tools. Certain sounds, movements, and warning lights reminded him of an issue he had encountered years earlier. Experience whispered an answer that expensive diagnostic computers had overlooked. He hesitated because interrupting highly paid specialists rarely ended well, but watching everyone struggle while knowing he might help felt impossible to ignore. When Owen respectfully suggested there might be another explanation, laughter spread across the group almost instantly. Some executives glanced at his faded uniform before dismissing him without another thought. Victoria looked him up and down, noticing only grease stains, worn gloves, and a weathered face marked by years of hard work. To her, he looked like a man who repaired lawn mowers, not multi-million-dollar aircraft. Trying to end what she considered an amusing interruption, Victoria casually pulled a crisp $100 bill from her wallet and tossed it toward him. The bill fluttered through the afternoon air before landing near his boots. She remarked that if he believed he could succeed where elite engineers had failed, he could keep the money for trying. Then, almost playfully, she declared that if he somehow started the jet, she would stake $10 million on his impossible success because there was absolutely no chance it would happen. People nearby laughed louder. Several employees pulled out their phones, expecting to record an embarrassing failure. Owen slowly bent down, picked up the $100 bill, folded it neatly, and placed it inside his shirt pocket. He was not offended by the money. What hurt was the assumption that years of honest work could be measured by worn clothing instead of earned knowledge. Without another word, he walked calmly toward the aircraft. Every eye followed him. He listened carefully rather than rushing. He inspected several panels, checked electrical connections, examined a fuel pressure reading, and noticed one tiny mechanical irregularity that almost everyone else had ignored. It was a small fault hiding behind a much larger symptom, the kind only someone who had spent decades listening to engines instead of simply reading computer reports might recognize. The airport suddenly became silent except for the gentle afternoon wind. The stopwatch on someone's phone reached 4 minutes. Investors crossed their arms. Security guards exchanged amused smiles. Victoria watched with growing curiosity as Owen worked confidently without unnecessary movement. His hands never shook because he trusted experience more than applause. 5 minutes passed. 6 minutes. Owen tightened one final connection, reset a protective system, and stepped into the cockpit. He closed his eyes for a brief second, almost as if remembering every difficult year that had brought him to this very moment. He thought about Mason waiting after school, probably wondering whether his father would make it home in time for dinner again. Then he turned the ignition. For one breathtaking heartbeat, nothing happened. The crowd prepared to laugh. Suddenly, the engines exploded into powerful life, filling the afternoon sky with a deep, unmistakable roar. Birds scattered across the runway while the once silent jet vibrated with perfect mechanical rhythm. The impossible had become reality exactly 6 minutes and 53 seconds after Owen first touched the aircraft. No one laughed anymore. Faces filled with disbelief replaced moments earlier smiles of mockery. Certified engineers stared speechless at diagnostic screens confirming that every system now operated perfectly. Investors who had questioned everything moments before erupted into stunned applause. Victoria remained completely still. For the first time in many years, success had not provided an answer. Pride had not protected her from being wrong. She slowly walked toward Owen, no longer seeing a worn mechanic. She saw a man whose quiet confidence had accomplished what prestige could not. Later that afternoon, Victoria requested Owen's employment history. What she discovered left her overwhelmed. She learned about his military aviation service, his countless emergency repairs, his wife's long illness, and the sacrifices he made every single day to raise Mason alone. She realized the man everyone underestimated possessed not only extraordinary technical skill but extraordinary character. The promised $10 million wager had begun as sarcasm, yet Victoria refused to ignore her own words. While legal advisors insisted the statement had not been binding, she felt something much stronger than legal obligation. She felt conscience. Instead of handing Owen a fortune directly, she established a $10 million engineering innovation foundation in his name, placing him in charge of developing scholarship programs for struggling single parents pursuing technical careers. Owen also received a senior leadership position within her aviation company, complete with flexible hours so he could continue raising Mason without sacrificing family. The first paycheck changed their lives, but the greatest gift arrived weeks later when Mason proudly visited the airport wearing a small visitor badge. Watching his father walk confidently through the hangar, greeted with respect instead of judgment, filled the young boy's eyes with tears. For years he had believed his father was simply fixing broken machines. Now he understood that his father had quietly been rebuilding hope itself. Victoria changed too. She began visiting training centers, encouraging executives to value character before appearance and experience before expensive titles. Every new employee learned the story of the mechanic who reminded an entire company that greatness often arrives wearing dusty boots instead of polished shoes. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to Beyond Single Dad. Your support allows us to continue sharing stories that celebrate courage, kindness, and the quiet heroes living among us. Special request, comment below with "Never judge by appearance" if you believe every hard-working parent deserves respect, dignity, and a chance to prove themselves. As the golden afternoon sun slowly disappeared beyond the runway, Owen drove home in the same old pickup truck. The truck had not changed. His worn toolbox still rested beside him. But inside his heart, everything was different. He had never wanted revenge against those who doubted him. He simply wanted the opportunity to let his work speak louder than their assumptions. That afternoon proved that true value is never found in expensive suits, luxury cars, or impressive job titles. It lives inside perseverance, humility, sacrifice, and the quiet determination of people who refuse to give up, no matter how invisible the world makes them feel. Sometimes the loudest roar is not an aircraft engine coming back to life. Sometimes it is the sound of respect finally awakening in the hearts of those who had forgotten how to see the extraordinary hidden inside ordinary people.